there, fans of the Survivor Super Fun Time Show. This is Kevin, the host of the Survivor Super Fun Time Show. We're doing an episode 2 recap of Survivor 45. Unfortunately, we are not having a castaway on this week. We had someone potentially lined up, but it just didn't work out. Survivor season is really busy for a lot of the former castaways, so if they're not doing a podcast with like Super Fun Time Show, they're out at like a Bryson Wen event and traveling around. So hopefully next week for episode 3, we'll have a proper recap with one of the former castaways. Although that was a disappointment, the good news is we have a really cool giveaway. So everyone who watches Survivor Super Fun Time Show, you will have the potential to win this buff right here. This buff, my friends, is a buff of the Reba tribe from Survivor 45. This is the buff of Drew, of Austin, of Dee, of Julie. This is the buff that you could be wearing around your waist like adorable little Brando from the Bello tribe if you are a subscriber to this channel and you live in the United States. Unfortunately, I'm not shipping internationally, but that's okay. I still love you and you'll still have a chance at maybe a future giveaway, but for now, you just need to be a member of this channel and continue to watch. We'll say I'll give it a couple weeks until I give it away, but that's why it's important to subscribe and make sure that you follow the videos. Now, let's get into it. Survivor 45 episode 2, a lot of stuff happened. The number one being, the credits are back. We finally got the Survivor intro, main title, credits, whatever you want to call it, back. And it was everything I could have wanted. It adds such ambiance to the show, and I'm glad that Probst, maybe it's just because it's the 90-minute episodes, that Probst is over it at this point, and we can actually enjoy the intro credits. I'm a big Game of Thrones fan. What you see behind me are replicas from the show, actually from my other YouTube channel, but it didn't feel like the show actually started until I heard the dum dum da da dum dum, you know, and same thing with Survivor here. So that was huge that we got that. And even before that, we got the previously on Survivor, which we haven't gotten in a long time. So honestly, it felt like it was, these are very easy concessions to make for Survivor producers of the new era for fans who don't really like the new era all that much, and it really kind of brings you back and feel like it's a cohesive thing, even though for the most part that's what Probst and co don't really want. They kind of want the new era of Survivor to be a whole different game. So it made me really happy, who's been a fan since season 3 and obviously has seen them all since I was a kid. Now moving past that, some of the awesome things that happened, I mean the fallout of the Lulu tribe. Thankfully, if Hannah did not quit, Emily was going to be voted out. Sabiyah and Caleb and pretty much everybody told her the deal. And Emily, you know, she's like, yeah, I was just fighting for myself. Why can you get mad? And Sabiyah's like, because you targeting us. That's why I can get mad. So Emily very much bottom of the totem pole. But it gets a lot more interesting later on because a Beware advantage was around for the Lulu tribe. And even before that, Emily was looking around for an idol. And of course, everyone was trying to create this pseudo plan of saying like, hey, how about we pair up and look for the idol so that if Emily tries to find the idol, there's going to be one of us with her. So everyone offered. Sabiyah went up to Emily and said, hey, let's look together. And Emily's like, bull, I'm not doing that. Kudos to her. She was right. I mean, there is nothing in it for her. So Emily, this is one of those situations where a lot of people act a little more soft-gloved with these things, but no, she didn't, and I don't blame her. However, the Beware advantage did come up, and Brandon's the one who found it with Sabiyah. And Brandon, who's really vulnerable himself, he clearly is not a stud in this tribe, he said, all right, thought about this a lot, I'm gonna give it away to Sabiyah, because I don't wanna risk my vote. So of course, right away, they find the Beware advantage, and Sabiyah gets it, and essentially it leads her to an idol eventually that she can't use yet, but I'll get to that in a second. But Brandon gets to keep his vote. Good for him, all right? Okay, to some degree, that's pretty smart. Emily's the lowest person on the totem pole, and your vote's pretty valuable, so fine. Even though the logic is pretty flawed in that probably Sean, Caleb, and Sabiyah were going to control the vote no matter what, whatever, fine. The flaw in all this comes later on when the journey comes around and you have to pick someone from your tribe to go on the journey. We've seen this a bunch of times where typically you risk your vote in order to get some kind of advantage. Brandon was the one who went for the Lulu tribe. Now Bruce went for the Bello tribe and Drew went for Reba, but Brandon was the one who went for Lulu. He went on his separate thing, and guess what he did? He risked his vote to get an advantage, and he lost. Now I'll say this, I actually supported Brandon making that choice. I thought he was going to win that challenge because I thought it was a very winnable challenge. You just have to match up the little tiles, pull the thing out, assuming you got the right numbers, and you got some kind of free advantage. The one that Drew ended up winning for the Reba tribe was knowledge or safety without power. So he could leave tribal council and be safe, but he had no vote. Pretty good advantage. And also, just to get the topic done with, Bruce didn't risk his vote. Very smart on Bruce's part because, quite frankly, I think he's in a good spot. So Brandon, who clearly wasn't in a good spot, gave away advantage to somebody who definitely doesn't need one in Sabiyah at this point. Then he goes on a journey and loses his vote anyway for something that's not as good as an immunity idol. So I think he definitely botched that. But again, I didn't really blame him for risking his vote at the journey. I just would have kept the Beware advantage. But the Lulu tribe is a total disaster. The only thing I'll give credit to in the tribe is, Sabiyah is in charge and it scares me. I'm a huge fan of Sabiyah right now. The problem is she's so comfortable, it's inevitably the rug's gonna be pulled out from underneath her. And I wouldn't be shocked if Caleb is the one that does it, quite frankly. Caleb, he is very brilliant. Emily was looking for like anyone to kind of latch on to on the tribe after the kind of the drubbing she took after tribal council. And Caleb was like, listen here, baby bird, come on over and we'll talk a little bit. I'll be sensitive to you. I'm still against you because you're gonna be probably my vote. But, if you find an idol, you're probably not going to vote me out. And, if somehow you pull something off, you're probably going to look toward either Sean or Sabiyah and not to me if I'm a little bit nice to you. The key is not letting Sabiyah know that you're double dipping. But Caleb looks like he's a bit of a hustler in that regard, and I love it. That means he's probably going to be a really good player this season. So anyway, Lulu is a disaster. Moving over to the Bello tribe, Brucey, we already talked about him a little bit. Brucey baby. Love Bruce. So far, he's doing everything that I expected from him. Although I did not expect a Kane from the Ratu tribe name drop, as if that was the coolest thing in the world. But, that happens. I think Bruce should stop reminding people how he was on season 44, and he knows the game already. It's really making him stand out a little bit. Although I will say in the past, a lot of returning players have done well despite all this stuff. So maybe I'm the fool. He is my winner pick after all. Maybe he's still going to end up winning the game. That would be awesome. The star that kind of came out here, Brando definitely stood out with how much he was hanging out with the girls, and he seemed like a real-life Alan from Barbie, just chilling there, putting a little buff on like all the girls, and I thought that was great. So he looks like he's positioning himself fairly well, but I'm not certain that he's going to be exactly where they think he's going to be from an alliance standpoint. And I feel the same way about Katurah, actually. Katurah had a great episode. I loved the fact that she said that there's like one-sided hatred between her and Bruce. Hatred's a strong word, but like she does not like Bruce very much. And Bruce is like not knowing it's existing. And it's really fascinating because I think they both can be in the game for a really long time. And I wonder how they reconcile this. But the good news is for Bello, I don't think they're going to lose very much. And if they do, I think Jake is in trouble. So the development of how these relationships are going to go, really fascinating. But overall, the Bello girls are doing great. Kelly's a total badass. Kendra's more of a badass than I thought she would be. And Katurah obviously is a badass. She's telling all these good lies that are making her have commonalities. Like, she said she's the same age, same sign. I don't think she's the same age at all as the other girls. And she's just going, oh my God, yeah. And that's a great way to get ahead in Survivor, so good on Katurah. Although I hope she's not very public about wanting to get rid of Bruce, because I feel like that would go against her, not for her. And then finally, recap on the Reba tribe. Austin had the Beware advantage, so he has the capability to get a hidden immunity idol, which is a big deal. Now, Drew, when he came back from the journey, he told everyone in his tribe what exactly his advantage was and how the whole process went. That was something that immediately I thought was actually probably a good thing to do, because you're now in the new era, everyone knows what to expect. They know that you're going on the journey, you had to risk your vote most likely, and you probably came back with an advantage. Or you just lie and say you lost your vote, and then, that's it. But the jig is going to be up soon enough because you're going to have to vote either way. However, this somehow parlayed into something really interesting where Austin and Drew have now paired up. And that's a huge alliance in the Reba tribe. We're looking at powerhouses potentially. Austin's clearly the #1 target, I think, in the entire game other than Bruce. And the fact that you pair him up with Drew, who's going to be another big target, pretty big deal. I love seeing it happen, but I still don't know if Drew should have told everyone his advantage or not. Sometimes honesty like that really buys you a lot of currency in the game. But there's a lot of times where it also bankrupts you as well, because people say, I need to get rid of him. But personally, as someone who came into the game liking Drew and Austin, I'm very excited to see this union happen like that. Now we get to the immunity challenge. They have the cool one where, they have those little mallets and you get to crack a good thing open and eventually get to build a puzzle, a new puzzle that we haven't seen. It's a tree concept like before. Somehow, I'm sure fans have complained enough, including myself, that the puzzles have been way too similar and they're easy to practice at home. I think there's a part where you should reward people for putting in work ahead of time, but you can argue it's not equitable, so I'm glad they changed it up. I don't want to see things repeated this much. If there's anything I want to see repeated, I want it to be something where you can't beat everyone just by practicing a puzzle. I want to see a Schmergen Brawl. I want to see a Sumo at Sea. I want something where it is bones on bones once again in Survivor. And this puzzle was a nice change of pace into, in that it's not the same puzzles every other time, but it is not exactly physical competition where your opponent affects how you do. And that is something that we haven't seen in a really long time. But anyway, no surprise here. Brandon and the Lulu tribe botched it during the challenge. They end up losing. Bello and Reba reign supreme once again. Lulu has to go to his tribal council. Emily makes a pitch because she's at the bottom. She makes a pitch. She says, I will not even use my shot in the dark. I will give you my shot in the dark, Sabiyah, if you do not vote me out tonight. Which is terribly fascinating because we've never seen anyone use the shot in the dark as currency in that way, at least not what I recall. They go to tribal council. Brandon gets voted out and he's out of the game. This is not a terrible shocker. Sadly, I didn't think he was going to go very far once I learned a little bit more about him in the preseason interviews. And obviously, once episode 1 happened, his days were very much numbered. But it begged a really interesting question in 2 ways at Tribal. One, Sabiyah ended up getting the hidden immunity idol from Lulu. But the catch is, it was covered in wax. And the only way you could actually get the idol to be a valid idol is you had to melt all the wax off in a fire. The fire is at your own camp. You can't just take it to Tribal Council and throw it in the Tribal Council fire and burn the wax off. That would not count. Or use your torch. That also does not count. So right now, Sabiyah has a physical idol, but it is useless until the wax comes off. And in addition to that, Sabiyah now has 2 shots in the dark. Technically right now, she doesn't have to give it back to Emily. She has Emily's and her own. This is the first time we've had to worry about shot in the dark management before in the game. But the question came up, can you have 2 shots in the dark? Is that a thing? And turns out, according to Jeff Probst on the official On Fire with Jeff Probst podcast for Survivor, he said, yeah, you can have as many shots in the dark as you want, and you can use them throughout the game. However, you can only use 1 at each tribal council. So effectively, she can try to win immunity twice at this point just by using the shots in the dark. That's a good thing for Sabiyah. However, if I had to guess, Sabiyah's going to give it right back to Emily next episode. So I probably wouldn't be too worried about it. And if she doesn't give it back, then I think Sabiyah is putting herself in incredible danger. And she had a great week, so I really hope that's not the case. But overall, I thought this episode was pretty good. I think 90-minute episodes with how they pace things out, seeing camp life, learning about people that we haven't seen before, like Julie. We got to learn a little bit about Julie. Already a bigger fan of Julie than I would have been, definitely, if it were only the standard 60-minute episodes in the past. This is working out perfectly. Bringing the theme back was perfect. It makes me want to run through a wall knowing that Survivor is giving this to me each week, and I'm just incredibly happy. If you love this episode and you love the Super Fun Time channel, I am going to give away this Reba buff because we know they're going to be total dynamos moving forward. Remember, be subscribed on this channel and leave a comment down below as well and be in the continental United States. And you will have a chance to win this Reba buff. Otherwise, that's going to do it. I hope you have an amazing day, everyone. You take care. And remember that I have spoken.